cloudy and probably will rain. Yeah, same here. Same here. Okay, come in, come in, come in. I'm going to give us just a couple minutes before we kind of get rolling here. This is totally informal, so it was completely last minute. I would like to do more of these where on a day that I just don't have a lot to do, when I'm not stressed and I've got some free time, just like hang out with you guys here on YouTube. I love the ADHD community. I love serving and supporting the ADHD community. And so this is just one of the ways that I can do that really well, is just like on the days when I'm not stressed out. Like I had a 3-hour block of free time, which I filled up with a lot of administrative work. But then like your girl doesn't like to do administrative work. I like talking to people. This is what I'm best at. This is the part of my job that I love. And that I feel like I'm really gifted at. And so like the administrative stuff, let's just not spend a whole lot of time on that. Let's create opportunities for ourselves to do the things that we're gifted at. Do you know what I'm saying? So let me reintroduce myself, since the last video was a complete fail. So if you don't know me, my name is Kristen Carter. I am a podcaster. I host the I Have ADHD podcast. I wonder if any of you are listeners here to the I Have ADHD podcast. It has been, as far as I know, the most downloaded ADHD podcast to date. And now we are just starting a YouTube channel. So I am here on YouTube hanging out, wanting to grow my subscribership. My goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers in the next couple weeks. So if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, you could be a part of helping me reach my goal by pressing that subscribe button. That would be so helpful to me. I'm also a coach. I have multiple coaching certifications. I coach adults with ADHD in my coaching program, Focused, and I am writing a book. I'm writing a book right now on how to help ADHDers have healthy relationships. What I have found in coaching ADHDers for the last 6 years is that relationships are like the number one issue that come up over and over and over. And other than, where is it? And I don't like this book. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like this book. But other than this book, The ADHD Effect on Marriage, which I don't enjoy, there isn't a book for ADHDers on relationships. And so I'm going to write that book. I've partnered with a publisher, DK, which is a division of Penguin Random House. And we're going to get that to you. Did you know that writing a book takes literally forever? I'm writing it right now. The manuscript is due in November, and it will not be available for purchase until October of 2026. Listen to me when I say no ADHDer wants to wait that long for their book to be published. Like WTF, that takes forever. Okay, let me read some of what you guys are saying. What are you saying? You're talking about Felicia. That's amazing. Okay, you're in Ontario, Sue. Yes, you are very hot today. That's awesome. North Dakota, it looks like the Windows screensaver. Shannon, you're so lucky. That's amazing. Gentry. Hi, Gentry. You're in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's 92 degrees. It's my kind of weather. My goal is to retire in Arizona. I love Arizona. Oh my goodness, you're from Iceland. That's wonderful. Val, I think, or Vale, not sure. Love it, love it, love it. Sue's a longtime listener. Gentry's a longtime listener. I love it. Danielle says, congrats on the book. Thank you. It's been a long time coming. For years, I have wanted to write a book. But I knew I didn't have the capacity. Do you ever just have a goal in the back of your mind that you're like, I definitely want to do this. I really feel called to it, but now is not the time. So for several years, that's the way I've been feeling about writing a book. I know that I want to do it. I feel really called to it, but it's not the time. And so finally, I really feel like the time has come. And so I've been working on that. I've been working on it for a year now. Yep. Talk about long-term goals, which we can talk about if that's something that you're interested in, like how to get yourself to reach those long-term goals when there's so little dopamine involved. It's not cute. It's not cute. Okay, Jen says, I have my diagnosis appointment on the 12th of August. I'm so nervous and scared. Jen, I am sending you so much support and so much love. Here's what I would recommend is looking up ADHD symptoms and writing down the ways in which you resonate with them. And even if you can remember from your childhood, like how did that play out for you in childhood? It can really feel like performance anxiety when you're sitting face to face with a clinician who's just like, like looking down at their book, probably the DSM, looking back up at you, kind of expecting some sort of answer. So if you can kind of go through the basics of the ADHD symptoms, which I have on my website, if you go to ihaveadhd.com, there's an option for symptoms, and you can look up the symptoms there, like general symptoms. If you want to like maybe make some notes so that you don't feel so much pressure when you're in that diagnosis setting. I hope that's helpful to you, Jen. Any tips for activating when dealing with ADHD paralysis? I'm drowning. Danielle. Oh, I'm sending you so much support. Y'all, what's normally happening for us when we are drowning and we're totally paralyzed? What's normally like, I'm just curious, like, let's poll the class. Like, what's normally going on when we're drowning and paralyzed and just feeling so stuck? What do you guys think? There's like a lot of overwhelm. There's usually a lot of fear. There's usually some things that we're avoiding because we don't want to do them. Maybe we've overcommitted. Maybe we feel like no matter what I do, it's not going to be good enough. And so, what I would really encourage you to do is get everything out of your brain and onto paper, like download everything, and then sit with the big feelings. And I know that this is so hard. This is one of the hardest and most complicated parts of ADHD, in my opinion, is the emotional dysregulation and learning how to regulate your emotions as an adult. This was a skill that people learn in childhood that we just didn't get. And so these are the things that we have to learn now, and it is not easy. So being able to sit with the big feelings, and then once you've kind of like allowed them to move through your body, really taking a critical look at that list. What can we just throw in the trash can that we're just not going to get done? What is on the list because someone else wants us to do it, but it's not really aligned with what we want? What can we like literally put off because there's no deadline? And like what is on that list that actually needs, it's like deadline specific, needs to happen, and then sitting with the big feelings around that. I hope that helps you have a starting point for yourself. Ari is from Tokyo, Japan. Your podcast has been so eye-opening. I am sending you so much love. So much love. I love having a listener from Japan or listeners in Japan. I went to Japan as a child. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. Durham, North Carolina, recent diagnosis, newish listener. Your podcast has been massively helpful and validating. I'm an academic, so I feel you about the book writing. Oh my gosh, Katie, the book writing. Great to have you here. Christine's from Ontario, hot today with bad air quality. Oh, from the wildfires. I'm so sorry about that. Jen says, yes, I've heard about always making notes instead of freezing and thinking. I feel like I've been alone since school where no one has noticed how I've been. So I feel like I could be called a liar. Okay, so Jen is talking about the diagnosis process. It's so valid and so understandable that you're worried that you might not be believed in the diagnosis process or in that conversation. And I just hope and pray that you have an empathetic, kind, competent clinician. Because if you are not believed, that means that you don't have an empathetic, kind, competent clinician. Does that make sense? If you're not believed, that's not your fault. That's the clinician's fault. Clinicians are meant to take information from their patients and believe them. Okay. So if you're not believed, that's on the clinician and you should get a second opinion. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? A kind, competent, empathetic clinician is going to believe their patient. If they don't believe you, that's not because you're not believable. It's not because it's not your fault. It's because the clinician is not kind, competent, empathetic. So we need to go find a new clinician. Not that, if a clinician comes back and says, "Hey, I hear you on all of this. It doesn't sound like ADHD to me. And here's why." Okay, that's understandable. They're the so-called expert. But what I would want to know is, okay, what is it then? If it's not ADHD, what is it? What's going on? Because I'm struggling. I need an answer. If it's not ADHD, okay, give me a solution though. Okay, I hope that is helpful. I hope that's really helpful. I hope you don't mind that I'm chewing gum. I really just want to keep chewing gum. Okay, guys. Um, Hi, I love your podcast, emails, and the useful content. It's been life-changing. Oh, that's so sweet. I feel like I have no idea where my time goes. I blink and hours have passed. I've achieved nothing. Do you have any advice for better time management? I'm curious if you are medicated, which you don't have to share with me. That's your business. It's not my business. But I'm asking because medication plays a key role in time management. And if you're not medicated, I highly recommend that you look into being medicated for ADHD because that can really improve your time management. Your podcast on setting achievable goals was so helpful. I'm glad. Did you guys like that podcast? I was afraid you would hate it because it's not very fun and it's not very sexy. I was like, they're going to hate this. They're going to hate this. I struggle with my ADHD and emotional regulation that I often turn into anger outbursts. What are your thoughts? I talk about this constantly on my podcast. I have hours and hours and hours of free content. So go ahead and refer to the podcast. But yes, emotional regulation is a key component of ADHD. What's wild is that it's not currently listed as a part of the diagnostic criteria. And I find that to be bonkers, mind-blowing, so dumb. But yes, emotional regulation is very difficult. Emotional regulation is a developmental process that is meant to be learned in childhood through healthy enough families where attunement and co-regulation are both present. Where a child is seen, heard, validated, understood, and met with kindness and empathy and care and love, and from a parent who is able to sit with their child's emotions and hold space for them. And I'm curious if that was your childhood experience. Sometimes I take Stanley sips for effect. Most of us if we have ADHD, that means we grew up in ADHD families. That means that we have long lines of emotional dysregulation in our families, right? And so there's just this repeated pattern of not being regulated as a parent. So I don't teach my child how to regulate themselves. And then it's just this continued cycle. And so, yes, emotional regulation is something that we have to learn as adults, and it is possible to learn. I believe I just dropped a podcast on this recently. On emotional regulation. So go check that out. You can find it here on YouTube or Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Have you subscribed to the channel while you're here? That would be so incredible. I will give you my time. I will give you my brain. I will answer your questions. The only thing that I ask for you is to subscribe to the channel. That would be so helpful. Help me get to 10,000. Help me get there. Okay. What are you guys saying? Can we talk about ADHD, autism and ADHD? For sure, you can talk about it. You can talk about whatever you want. I do not feel like an expert in ADHD, so I'm hesitant to give my thoughts, because I definitely want to not speak as an expert on a topic that's outside of my scope of expertise. Does that make sense? Um, I so appreciate how meds support better time management. Why haven't I noticed I can't do much of anything other than dream if not medicated, diagnosed at 59? It's because you have ADHD, sweetheart. So she's saying, if I'm understanding correctly, I can't do much of anything other than dream if I'm not medicated. Why is that? And the answer is because you have ADHD. This is you have because you have ADHD. Guys, do you notice how sometimes we judge ourselves for not like having it together, especially when we're unmedicated and we're like, "Oh my gosh, why can't I just do this?" The answer is because you have ADHD. Why is this hard for me? Because I have ADHD. Why am I daydreaming all the time? It's because I have ADHD. Why can't I just get stuff done? The answer is ADHD. So then so then the next step is how can I support my ADHD? How can I make sure I take my medication? How can I make sure that I am doing my best to give myself what I need so I can succeed? Hello from sunny Miami. Oh, you lucky duck. Thanks for all you do for ADHDers. I've tried 4 meds. None have worked. What would you recommend? Oh, that sucks. That sucks. That sucks. Okay, so I have a couple questions. I'm not a doctor. I will not give medical advice, but I am curious, how long did you try the medications for? Did you try both stimulants and non-stimulants? Did you give it a good amount of time? Um, did you give it a good amount of time to like work? So for example, when I started a non-stimulant, it took me 6 months, 6 months to notice that it was working. Does that make sense? So, I'm just wondering I also yeah. Andrea says 6 months? Jesus. Yeah, exactly. So, that's what I'm trying to speak to here is, did you give it enough time? Now now, that being said, if it makes you feel worse, if you feel awful on it, if like, so for example, at one point I tried a medication and it gave me extreme anxiety and I took it for 3 days and I was like, absolutely not. I'm never taking this again. So I want you to listen to your body. If you feel much worse on medication, stop it. Of course, follow your doctor's recommendations. Always follow your doctor's recommendations, but the medicine is intended to help you feel better than much better, right? Not worse. However, that being said, a lot of ADHDers, I'm gonna call some of you out. A lot of you ADHDers take medication, you don't notice that it's working, and you're like, this shit doesn't work, and you stop taking it. And that's where I would say, hang on a second. Let's not be so quick. Let's not be so impulsive. Let's not be so impatient. Let's give it some time. So, what I did was I continued to increase my dosage with my doctor slowly, because they usually start you on a really low dose and then we're increasing. Then once I felt like, okay, I think I maybe noticed something, we paused. And then after like a month, I checked in with my husband and with my best friend. And I was like, do you notice, like, do you notice any difference? My husband was like, whatever you're doing, please don't ever stop. He noticed a big difference. He noticed a much bigger difference than I did. So I'm just saying, if it doesn't feel good in your body, work with your doctor to stop taking it, of course. But if you don't notice anything, you might just need some more time. Okay. All right. I want to answer this. Not sure if you missed my message. I must have. I'm so sorry about that. I've learned so many tools for how to get myself to do things, but not enough for how to refrain from doing things. So okay, that's great. Congrats on learning how to do things. That's a that's huge. That's a big part of what we want, right? I hate how the camera on YouTube is backwards. Okay, Sorry, let me focus. What you're asking is, how do I learn impulse control? How do I learn to have breaks? And I would say that this is hard. This maybe is one of the hardest aspects of ADHD treatment is learning how to have those breaks. And I would highly encourage you to implement um, the I think you're going to hate this advice. I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to say it. I'm scared. You're going to hate it. Um, would you be willing to implement some mindfulness, some meditation, but like active meditation? So going for walks, running, yoga, those types of meditative things where you can be with you in an active state. I don't do like sit and breathe and meditate. I do active meditation. So I'm in the woods, I'm walking in barefoot in the grass. I'm doing active meditation. Can you implement mindfulness and breathing, like learning that while you're being active? And can you also implement some like intentional pauses throughout your day where you are really pausing to stop and think? Who am I? What do I want? Who do I want to be? Like those just three questions, three times, like a couple times a day. Who am I? You not like you don't have to answer that on a large scale, but like, okay, I'm sitting in my office. Right now I've got my work hat on. I'm not a mom. I mean, I am a mom, but do you know what I'm saying? In this moment with you, with all of you from all over the world, there's 80, almost 80 of us here now. With all of us all over the world, I'm not a mom. I don't need to be thinking about my kids right now. They're taken care of. I'm not a wife. I don't need to be thinking about my husband right now. Who am I right now? I'm work Kristen. That's who I am. What do I want to do? I want to do a great job at this live. What do I need to support me? I should probably turn my fan on. I am hot. Hang on just a second. Do you see how that mindfulness pause was even helpful to me in the moment? Oh, yeah, I am hot. I checked in with myself, right? And so I encourage you to do that. Okay, my 23-year-old son is diagnosed with ADHD. He's currently on medication and is seeing a therapist. That's wonderful. Congratulations. What can I do as a parent to support him? He has become stuck. He's dropped out of college and he doesn't work. Oh, sweetheart. I'm sorry to hear that. That must be really hard as a parent. That must be really, really hard. First of all, kudos to you for supporting your child getting an ADHD diagnosis. I'm assuming you're paying for his therapy. That's wonderful. Kudos. Good job. High five. Like really wonderful. What I would encourage you to do is instead of you need to get moving, you need to get unstuck. I'm not saying you're doing this, but I just want to be clear. Instead of pointing out to him what he needs to do, which he probably already knows, checking in with him and asking, hey, how can I help you? Is there anything that you need? What do you need today for support? Checking in with him. What does it look like for me to support you right now as your parent? What do you think would be now, not all of these questions at once. I'm saying like once in a while, check in with him with a question. What do you think would be most supportive to you? And then encouraging him. I know that you are going to be successful. You're in a rut right now. It's fine. I have no doubts that you're going to be amazing. And then lastly, and this is so important, manage your own anxiety. Parents, come here. Manage your own anxiety. You are likely feeling extremely anxious about your kiddo. He's 23, doesn't have a job. Manage your own anxiety. my kid is going to be successful. I know that he is eventually going to figure it out. I'm going to take care of my anxiety so that I don't need him to change in order for me to feel stable. All right. I'm wondering how that sits with you. I definitely vouch for mindfulness. It helps calm me down. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. My meditations is baking in a quiet house. Yes, Jessica, I love that. And I love how that's an active practice. I love that, right? So like so many of us ADHDers, especially if we're hyperactive in any way, like sitting and being quiet and still, it's not it's not for us. But if we can actively engage in activities that like think about like kayaking, something active that where your body is engaged, but you don't need your mind in order to do it necessarily. You're in nature. You're able to sit with your thoughts and be mindful. Okay, Brenda said, I always wondered what was wrong with me. After hearing all of these symptoms, it just blew my mind. I see my therapist this week. Can I ask her to test me for it? Yes, Brenda, absolutely. It is going to depend on what type of therapist she is, what her training is, whether or not she is qualified or feels comfortable assessing you, but absolutely ask. Absolutely ask. Let me see. Don't fight. I'm just reading through. Are there any cheap therapists or psychiatrists? I don't know how to answer that question. Probably not. If you have insurance, it might cover it. You can look at Psychology Today. That's a great place to search. Your 7-minute strategy really helps, even for pausing, impromptu, etc. Not overwhelmed as easily. I use it to face inertia or when suddenly upset, for instance. That's wonderful, Alana. Thank you for letting me know. Yes, I totally agree, Dan. College does not define this person's son's success or journey. I have a emerging senior, so he'll be a senior this year. We have no idea if he's going to go to college, and I do not care. If he goes, great. If he doesn't go, great. He's going to be successful either way. He might be someone who needs a different path. Totally fine with it. Totally fine with it. Yep. As Dr. Becky says, connection over correction. I love Dr. Becky. I'm 54, self-employed and diagnosed with severe ADHD inattentive. I switched from Vyvanse to Concerta. No improvement. I am non-functional. I read that ADHDers are 250% more likely for dementia. Is that true? I have not read that. I'm interested to know where you got that stat. I don't know that that is true. I sure hope it's not true. I don't think it is. But having never read that stat or the study behind it, I don't know. I am sorry that you're struggling, though. I'm really sorry. That's really hard. Sounds really hard. What other questions do you all have? I wanted to let you know that I am working with a professor to create a research survey for my upcoming book. We are going to be working on that. We are working on it now, and I am hopefully sending it out to my email list. And I will also mention it on the podcast. And I'm hoping that 5,000 people with ADHD fill it out. So when it gets sent to you or when you hear about it on the podcast, would you please fill it out for the community, for the book, for like the ability to help people with ADHD. There's very little research currently on ADHD and relationships. And what little research we have is geared towards romantic relationships. And my book is about relationships in general. So we're going to talk about parent-child relationships, friendships, family of origin relationships, all types of relationships. Any ideas on how to manage frustration and needing things to be perfect? Andrew, why do we need things to be perfect? I'm curious about that. Managing frustration is not easy. I think it's a very common experience for us with ADHD. Whew. I think frustration is like coupled with impatience. And I think that we have these like big outbursts, and frustration is fighting against reality. That's what frustration is. I'm frustrated when I am fighting against reality. When I'm thinking, this shouldn't be so hard. This shouldn't have happened. This shouldn't be this way, even though it is this way. Does that make sense? So whenever I'm frustrated, I just really try to soothe myself with some deep breathing and like, what am I fighting against here? What's going on here? What reality am I having trouble accepting? I just want to say thank you for introducing me to Dr. Lindsay Gibson. It helps me understand so much of my lived experience and understanding what happened in my childhood and into adulthood. Dan. First of all, shout out for Dr. Lindsay Gibson. I'm so sad. This is just an insight into my ADHD brain. I'm so sad that when I interviewed her like 2 summers ago, first of all, before anyone else was interviewing her, let me just say that. I wasn't doing video podcasts at the time. I was just doing audio. And so I don't have really cute stuff to post on social media like everyone is right now with her 2 years after I interviewed her, but whatever. I'm not competitive at all. I'm not competitive at all. Okay. Dan, thank you so much for that. He says, you were the first. Okay, where are we here? Could you talk about navigating oppositional tendencies to traditional forms of accountability? I think it's a really nice way of saying, why do we ADHDers not want to be told what to do? Is that what you mean, Katie? I mean, you said it in a very clear, concise, and academic way, but I think what you're really asking is like, why do we hate being told what to do? I think there's a lot at play here. I think it's a nature and nurture situation, which if you don't know me or you're new to my work, like so much of how I approach ADHD is from a nature and nurture standpoint. So yes, ADHD is a brain-based condition, but also the way that we were parented and raised really has also shaped our brain, right? And so we know so much about childhood and the impact of parenting on the brain. And so, yes, it is nature, but also there is a lot of nurture involved as well. Guys, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, would you do it for me? You just take 3 seconds. I'll get back to what I was saying, but I just want to make sure before you go, it would be so helpful if you could do that for me. I'm going to give this hour to you. If you could give me that subscribe, that would be so amazing. So, Katie, in my opinion, thank you so much, Dan. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you. Katie, in my opinion, this is the nurture aspect of ADHD, in my opinion, where we are so sick of being told what to do, where we are so sick of being told that the way that we see the world is wrong or the way that we do things is wrong. And I don't know if you've heard of pathological demand avoidance. It is not a official diagnosis in the DSM, but it is something that people are kind of waking up to. And it is right now under the umbrella of autism, although some ADHDers also struggle with, I just call it demand avoidance in the ADHD world, and even demands from myself, right? So I don't even want to listen to me. I am oppositionally defiant to myself when I say, oh, I want to do this, or oh, I want to do that. Immediately the conversation is like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. You can't tell me what to do. And I just think in my opinion, that this is how we show this is how we see nature showing up in our adulthood, where it's like the way that I was parented was really not conducive to my ADHD brain. And now I have a lot of defiance against it. That's my opinion. To my knowledge, this hasn't been researched or studied. Okay, let me just scroll back up because I feel like I'm missing some stuff. I know I'm going to miss things, so I'm really sorry if I do. I love you. I see you. I want to get to everyone, but the way that the chat is set up here is a little wild, and I have an ADHD brain. Okay, so RJF is circling back to the statistic on dementia. They said, I read it in The Atlantic. It did say that if a person uses ADHD medication for 8 weeks, that the higher risk is greatly reduced. Also, ADHD brains lack the neuroplasticity of other normal brains. I disagree with that 100%. Sorry. I don't know if they have a study on that, but even if they do, I've coached thousands of adults with ADHD, thousands who have made incredible changes. I also used to implement a brain training program in the tutoring business that I owned years ago. So the fact that they say like neuroplasticity is less in an ADHD brain, in my mind, that's bullshit. I'm throwing that in the trash. I'm not saying anything to you, RJF. This has nothing to do with you. I'm talking about The Atlantic. However, I do think it's really interesting about the dementia and how ADHD medication lowers risk for dementia. So I'm going to go look up that study. I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. I can't wait to go read it. I'm actually going to write it down because we both know that I'm not going to look for it if I don't write it down. Atlantic study, dementia. That is an example of a stop and think moment in the middle of a professional setting where I accommodated my ADHD and did what I know that I needed. And you can do that too. My sister lives with us part of the time. We are both undiagnosed, but have self-diagnosed ourselves. She is not working towards getting a job and seems unmotivated to launch into life. That's sad. I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you for sharing that, Myra. That must be hard. That must be hard to like be around. Yeah, that must be really hard. Jenna asks, how do I know when I might need to increase my dosage for medication? I'm a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids, 4 and 6, and sometimes still scatterbrained even when I take my meds. This is a great question, and I would love to hear from the community what you guys suggest. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice, but I will say that even on medication, it's not like ADHD symptoms disappear. And it's not like a neurotypical person is never scattered when they have a busy day, right? So we're not going for perfection. We are going for improvement. So that's important. I also want to say that if you feel really, really good at this dosage in general, but every once in a while you have a scattered day, you can certainly talk to your doctor about it, but I'm not sure that would warrant an increase in dosage. You might want to just chat with your doctor about what they say. If you like your doctor, if you feel like they're competent and empathetic, hey, I'm wondering at what point do we look for an increase in dosage? And then also the last thing that I wanted to say is maybe start to track your days, which I know is hard, but maybe just like at the end of the day, if you for like a month could kind of track how many days were like that. Is it more than half? Is it less than half? Is it just a couple here and there? Those are the kind of things that you kind of want to think through. Again, we're not looking for perfection. No human gets to live life and never feel scattered. No human gets to live life and never feel overwhelmed. That's not a part of the human experience. But the question is like, is this a reasonable amount? And who is to say what's reasonable? I don't know. Okay. Anna B says, what do you say or how do you deal with it when people say, well, I do that too, like forgetting something or time management? Dr. Ari Tuckman, who is a friend and a colleague, he says the most perfect example of ADHD. I said that really weird. Let me try again. He describes ADHD in the most perfect way. He said, ADHD does not create new problems. It exacerbates the universal problems. ADHD does not create new problems. It exacerbates universal problems. So, like, yes, everyone's forgetful. Everyone struggles with time management here and there. For someone diagnosed with ADHD, it's to a debilitating degree. So, like, yeah, everyone's forgetful, but it's really dismissive for a neurotypical to look at an ADHDer and say, yeah, well, we all struggle with that. I don't know what your problem is. I just want to inflict some physical harm on those types. Sorry to get aggressive, but maybe that is my emotional dysregulation showing itself. Okay? So, the difference, okay, I hear you. I know that we're all forgetful from time to time. The difference is a doctor has determined that my level of forgetfulness is to a debilitating degree, far greater than normal, the norm. Okay? Ugh. I can't. I'm actually writing a chapter in my book currently, it's chapter 3, on how do we deal in our relationships with not being believed about ADHD, about being dismissed for our ADHD or our symptoms? Like, how do we even deal with it? So I am entrenched in this right now. Okay. Let me see. Any ideas to help encourage my sister to help her to launch into life? I would encourage her to get a clinical diagnosis. Myra, you said that, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. You said that she's undiagnosed. It sounds like she's stuck, and a diagnosis and some treatment could really, really be helpful to her. Okay, I'm just reading through looking for questions. Best tip for breastfeeding mama with ADHD. Finally tried meds and they worked. Now I've been off meds for a year and I don't plan on taking meds until done breastfeeding, but it's tough. Honey, get as much physical support as you can. If you're not going to take medication while breastfeeding, as much support, go to therapy, get a coach, get as much help as you can with the baby. Ask for what you need, identify your needs, make sure if you have a partner that your partner is aware that they are going to need to pitch in much more because you have ADHD and you're unmedicated. There's a recent study that came out about a year or two ago that followed a lot of mothers and their children. And they compared mothers who took medication while pregnant and nursing and mothers who didn't. And there were no indicators of higher levels of neurodevelopmental disorders or birth defects in the, I'm not saying they're the same, they're not the same. Neurodevelopmental disorders or birth defects in the mothers who took medication. If I were to go back and I had that information, I personally, this is a personal decision, would have chosen to medicate during my pregnancies and breastfeeding because I was so not okay. And the way I treated my children because of it is one of my long-standing regrets. Okay. I have a really hard time focusing when it comes to self-study, and I'm very lazy and tired most of the time. What do you recommend that I do? I really need to do it to get my certificates. I'm wondering if you're medicated because if you have a neurodevelopmental condition that you're not choosing to treat with medication, that would be the first place that I would say to start. Oh, are you the one that said you tried 4 medications? I think you are. Hold on, let me check. Yes. Okay, sorry. I'm just like reading all of these and then I connected the dots about that. Um, okay, so let me read your question again. Calling yourself lazy, that's a good place to start. Maybe changing that verbiage. Maybe we don't call ourselves lazy anymore. Maybe instead, because here's what we do, ADHD, or all of you, like we got to listen here. When we say, oh my gosh, I'm just so lazy. Why can't I just do this? Everybody can do this but me. I'm the only one that can't do this. What is wrong with me? That kind of self-talk does not, the only answer to that, the only answer is like, I guess I'm just a bad person. And then what? Then what do we do? Right? So instead, ask this question: what do I need? What do I need right now to be successful? I want to get these certificates. What do I need? Do I need a body double? Do I need a coach? Do I need to ask for help from my best friend or my partner? Do I need to go to the library instead of working at home? What do I need? Ask yourself what you need. Don't ask yourself what's wrong with me. Don't ask yourself, why am I so lazy? Ask yourself, what do I need? What would be helpful here? Okay, that's where I want you to start. Okay. Okay. Let me answer 1 or 2 more, and then we're gonna try to end at past, okay? I'm so glad that you hung out with me here. This was totally impromptu. I'm really glad that the second time through, the video was, like, so much better and everything. I am so, so, so glad. So, thanks for hanging with me. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that already. That would just, first of all, give me a hit of dopamine that I really could use. I could use it. Give me that dopamine, but also it would be really helpful. Okay. I'm a special education teacher who has ADHD, hyperactive, and underactive. Interesting. I take Adderall. I was for 10 years, did not work. I have frontal lobe migraines and I have nonverbal learning disabilities. Yeah, Kara, it's so interesting how ADHD and learning disabilities and other like cognitive issues can kind of go hand in hand. Um, and I just want to say, like, I'm sorry, that just must be so hard. I'm wondering what you're finding is working for you. I'm curious, like, what have you found to be helpful to you? Anna says, I'm so happy I caught this today. That's so sweet. I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, frontal lobe migraines and nonverbal learning disabilities. I'm sorry. That's so hard. Yep, meds definitely don't fix everything. Completely agree. Yep. They help me to be able to do more of the things. Exactly. So when people say to me, I try not to get spicy, that's not true. I don't try not to get spicy, but I don't want to be annoying. I want to bring the fullness of myself, but I also don't want to be annoying. But let me just say, when people say to me, like, I treat my ADHD naturally, or people with ADHD don't need medication, they just need to XYZ. People with ADHD don't need medication. They just need to XYZ. What you don't understand is the XYZ is pretty much impossible without that medication, right? And so if you're able to sleep 8 hours a night, eat healthy food, exercise every day, go to therapy and sit in that therapist chair and really, really like self-reflect, get coaching, follow the steps, you probably don't have ADHD. If you're able to do all of that unmedicated, you probably don't have ADHD. So when somebody says like people with ADHD don't need meds. They just need XYZ. What they're not understanding is the XYZ, the implementation of that is how? How are we going to do that? Like, you don't even realize the executive dysfunction, the impulsivity, the distractibility, and how medication, and the lack of dopamine or fewer dopamine receptors, which results in a lack of dopamine, and how that is so helpful or helped by medication. Yeah. Mohika says Mokia. I'm not sure how to say your name. I'm so sorry. But they say I can barely do it medicated. And that's the point. Like, yes, so I've been on this journey for 22 years. If you want to give me a trophy, I will accept it because I need all the validation in the world. Well, I've been on this journey for 22 years. I was diagnosed at age 21-ish, so 23 years. Gosh, I'm kind of old. I'm 44, okay? I've been on this journey for that long. I have been medicated by both a stimulant and a non-stimulant separate times. I've engaged in almost 4 years of intense therapy. I have been coached many times. Sometimes I've had as many as 2 coaches at one time that I'm paying, okay? So I've done so much self-development work. And last year I was like, I don't even know if I need medication anymore. Like, I am doing so good. I'm doing so great. And so I, without my doctor's advice, cut my meds in half and started taking half. It was a complete circus. Shit show. It was a shit show. And I was like, oh, I get it. I get it now. I'm able to do these things. Yes, because of all the self-development work and also because of medication. Duh. Kristen, like, practice what you preach. You know what I'm saying? Oh my gosh. Okay. One more. Oh gosh. No, but this is so interesting. Dan says, have you at all dug into the gambling industry and its relationship with those with ADHD and how it's impacting children's development? No, but it's so heartbreaking. I was just listening to a podcast. What podcast was it? About gambling. It wasn't about gambling, but like that was a topic that came up. And there are so many people, especially men, kind of like losing their lives, so to speak, to gambling addiction. It's so sad. So sad. Okay, friends, that's kind of a downer of a note to end on. I'm so sorry. But I do have a class at the top of the hour in my ADHD coaching program. And so I need to make sure that I go. I'm going to eat a little bit more of my lunch. I'm going to get a drink. I will probably go put my feet in the grass, my bare feet in the grass, so that I can function a little bit, make sure I do a good job. I absolutely adore you. Thank you for being here. This is a really fun. I'm going to do this sporadically here and there just for fun. So just stay tuned. I sent out an email about it. If you're not subscribed to my email list, you can email focus@ihaveadhd.com and we can add you, or any of the links in the description is probably like an opt-in for email. And let's do it again soon. This was really fun. Okay. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.